What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and our 2023 college football predictions continue for the 2023 college football season. Up next are the Purdue Boilermakers, a team coming off pretty up and down season for 2022. They went 8-6 overall. They went 8-4 in the regular season. This team went to the Big Ten championship last year, won the Big Ten West, and it was a pretty good, run for Purdue, but the Big Ten championship game was obviously not that close, and then they just got blown out by LSU in their bowl game. So, yeah, it was kind of a tough finish to the season for this Purdue team. My thoughts on this team, though, heading into 2023 for this Purdue team, it's definitely a new rebuild scenario. It's not like they were bad last year. They just going to have a new head coach and new coaching staff and everything. Jeff Brom is now gone to Louisville, so a new era for this Purdue team and new, coaching staff and everything. You look at the schedule, and it's a pretty tough schedule for Purdue heading into 2023. Probably one of the toughest schedules in the Big Ten West this year. They'll play Fresno State, Virginia Tech on the road, Syracuse in the non-conference, and that's a tough non-conference schedule when you do have Virginia Tech and Syracuse both out of the ACC. Syracuse is obviously a rematch from last year. And then outside of you look at who they play outside of the Big Ten West. They'll play Ohio State, Michigan, and Indiana. They play Michigan on the road. They play Ohio State and Indiana both at home. So you get the good news there. You get Ohio State at home, but that's a really tough game there to play at home against the Buckeyes. So, yeah, overall a pretty tough schedule for the Purdue Boilermakers. Let's go game by game now and give you an official prediction for this Purdue team. So they start things off here with Fresno State on September 2nd. Not going to be an easy game here for Purdue. I think Fresno State's definitely a top 25 team. I think they're right there with the Power 5 teams and everything. I think this could be a really good group of 5 team. However, I think Purdue should take care of business here in this one. I think it will be a close game probably in the first half, but I think Purdue will pull away in the second half. So I think Purdue will start out 1-0 here with a win over Fresno State in 2023. Then they'll play Virginia Tech on the road next year on September 9th. Virginia Tech, I know, was a team last year that was really terrible. It really didn't turn out to be as good as we think they were going to be. However, this game is on the road. When I look back at my projections, I had Purdue as the favorite heading into this one. If Jeff Brom was still at Purdue, I would kind of pick Purdue to win this game just because I think they're the more talented team here. But Virginia Tech is obviously a tough place to play, and this is a tough game for me. I know Virginia Tech was really terrible last year, but this is a tough one for me. With that being said, I like Virginia Tech here in a close one over Purdue. I just think with all the new coaching changes and everything, Purdue is going to probably struggle to move the ball on the offensive side of the football against this Virginia Tech team. And I think Purdue loses their first game of the season here on the road at Virginia Tech. Then it's Syracuse after that on September 16th. This is a rematch from last year. And what a game it was last year between these two teams. I kind of expect a really good matchup here between these two teams once again. You got Syracuse, a team people are not really high on this year. I think that people are kind of sleeping on this Syracuse team. You look at the overall production they have coming back. I think it's going to be really good for them. However, this one's a tough one for me. I mean, it's a home field advantage type game here for Purdue. With that being said, I think Purdue gets a close win over the Orange here on September 16th. And that puts Purdue at 2-1 on the season. Then they'll open up Big Ten play against Wisconsin on September 23rd. We got 2 first-year head coaches going at it here in this one. This is going to be a pretty good one. I think this is probably going to be a low-scoring type ball game, perhaps. I think Wisconsin does have the more better team in this game, but like I said, when I did my Wisconsin video, it was a really tough one to call because, with a first-year head coach and everything, we don't know how good they're going to be in their first year. I know Luke Fickell's had some experience at Cincinnati, but is he going to be able to be good enough at the Power 5 level? That's going to be the question heading into, this game. This is one of those upset alert type games if Wisconsin was ranked in the top 25 by some point. And with that being said, I think Purdue upsets Wisconsin here in a close, low-scoring type ball game. I got Purdue knocking off Wisconsin there on September 23rd. That puts their record at 3-1. Illinois on September the 30th next year. Home game here for Purdue. I kind of expect a back-and-forth game here between Illinois and Purdue. I think this will be a close game, but Purdue's got home field advantage in this one. I think it's kind of similar to the Syracuse game. It will be a close game, but I think Purdue with home field advantage does get it done. So I'm going with Purdue here to knock off Illinois at home on September the 30th. That puts their record at 4-1. And this is where the schedule kind of gets way tougher here for Purdue. They'll play Iowa on the road next year on October 7th. Ohio State on October 14th. Nebraska on the road. And then Michigan on the road. So, yeah, this is a tough stretch from October 7th to November the 4th. Let's start with the Iowa game here, though. And, it's a pretty close game between these two every single year. It seems like, these two teams, when they step on the field, it's kind of like, a game that decides the Big Ten West. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think it will probably decide not the Big Ten West this year. I mean, it's early in October and everything. So, but Iowa's got, an offense that's not going to probably move the ball well against this Purdue defense. I think offensively both teams will struggle in this game. I think the defense is what wins the game for Iowa in this one. I think they're going to kind of struggle on that offensive side of the football. With that being said, I think Iowa gets the close win here with the help of their defense. I think home field advantage also favors the deal there for this Iowa team. I think they give Purdue their second loss of the season, and that puts Purdue's record at 4-2. Ohio State on October the 14th. This is a home game for Purdue, and this is pretty brutal. You have to play Iowa on the road, and then the next week you get Ohio State. The good news is you get this game at home, but really I don't see Purdue, really having a chance here to upset the Buckeyes. I think Ohio State is just way too talented. Plus, with a new coaching staff and everything, I think Purdue just has a long way to go before they can get back on that level of Iowa and Ohio State. So, I mean, it's going to be really tough to see what happens in this one. But maybe they give Ohio State a scare in the first few minutes. But I think Ohio State will pull away, and they will win this one here. Not really that close, though. I think Purdue will win, not really get anywhere close to the Buckeyes. They get a bye week after that Ohio State game. They'll play Nebraska on the road. I think this is a pretty good spot for a bye week if you're Purdue. However, it's on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska is kind of similar to Purdue. They're in a new rebuild mode right now, but I think Nebraska definitely, with all the transfers that they have coming in, and obviously Jeff Sims, we've heard a lot of great things about him. I think Nebraska could be a pretty good team. But, this game is going to go back and forth. I think this is kind of similar to the Syracuse game. It's going to go back and forth the whole way. I think Nebraska, though, with home field advantage in a coin flip type game for me, I'm going with the Cornhuskers here, and that puts Purdue's record at 4-4. Then it's Michigan on the road. This game is kind of similar to the Ohio State game. I don't really see this game being all that close. This is a rematch from last year's Big Ten championship game, but I just think Michigan, with all the experience that they have coming back, and obviously the talent is there for them, I just think they're going to blow this Purdue team out. So I'm going to go with Michigan here easily to knock off Purdue and put their record at 4-5. So that's 4 straight losses there for Purdue. Then they'll play Minnesota. They're back at home after that one on the road at Michigan. And this game is on November the 11th, and I think Purdue is kind of desperate at this point. They're kind of desperate to get a win. This is one of those games where I think Purdue kind of, plays their best game perhaps. Minnesota's not a bad team. They just lost a lot of production from last year, but I think they're still going to be really good. But I think this game, Purdue does have home field advantage, and I think it's kind of similar to the Syracuse game where it's going to be a shootout type ball game. I like the Boilermakers, though, to get it done here at home over Minnesota. So I got Purdue now improving to 5-5 after that win over Minnesota. Then it's Northwestern on the road next year on November 18th. Another tough road game here for Purdue. Obviously, Northwestern's kind of similar to Virginia Tech last year. They didn't really turn out to be as good as we think they were going to be. Northwestern, though, is more terrible than Virginia Tech. They only had one win last year, but I haven't really seen a lot of changes with Northwestern heading into this season. I don't think there's any big changes to the coaching staff. Maybe they just had a bad year last year, and maybe this is kind of a redemption year for Northwestern, but this one is a tough one for me because Purdue does have a first-year head coach. And like I said, if Jeff Brom was still at Purdue, I would pick Purdue to win this game. But I think Northwestern, with them being at home in a close, low-scoring type game, I think Northwestern gets it done. So I got Purdue losing that one on the road at Northwestern. That puts them at 5-6. And then it's Indiana here to end things out at home on November 25th. Big game here. You never know what can happen between these two. I think that it's going to be a back-and-forth game. I think, Purdue does have home field advantage in this one. Indiana's been a team that's, been terrible the last couple years. Could they be really terrible this year? I think they're going to make some improvement. I think they'll lose, maybe some close games this year, but I think they'll make some improvement where they can try to compete in the Big Ten again this year. But this is a tough one for me because it's a coin flip type game. But at the end of the day, I think Purdue just beats Indiana here, and I think Purdue wins that one here at home on November 25th. So I got Purdue finishing with a record of 6-6 for 2023. I think that's a fair prediction for Purdue, but it wouldn't really shock me if this team went 5-7 or maybe 4-8 because of a first-year head coach and everything. Now, it's very possible this team can go 7-5, but I really don't see that happening. I think this Purdue team, though, goes 6-6. This is definitely a step back year for this Purdue team. But give me your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about this Purdue team? What do you think their record is in 2023? And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.